guys, hope you're well and welcome back to my channel. Now today I am doing the brand new mum tag created by Emily Norris. Now I was tagged in this tag by Lara, one of my good friends, and also by Michelle, another one of my good friends. I will leave both of their channels linked down below for you, so obviously you can go on over and check them out. But basically the mum tag is something that was created by Emily Norris, who is ultimate mum goals. She looks amazing, she's stunning, she has 3 boys, so she's a mum of boys just like me, and she does lots of mum hacks, day in the life videos and lots of things like that. So I'll also leave her channel link below, and I will also leave the questions to this link below also. So at the end of this I'm going to be tagging some more of my friends out there who I would love to do the mum tag as well. However, if you don't have YouTube, I would love to hear all of your answers in the comments below. So I will leave all of the questions in the description box so you guys can join in the fun too. So I'm going to be doing this mum tag and just sharing with you everything from failures and triumphs and all those things that come in between, because for anyone that doesn't know me, I'm a mum of 2 boys. I have Clayton, who is 4, and Parker, who is 1. So I fell pregnant around this time 5 years ago now, which is so scary to say, and since then so much has changed. There have been so many things that I've learned along the way, so many things that I've done wrong and messed up on, and I'm just going to be sharing with you them all today. So if you want to find out what those are, they are all on my phone, then just keep watching. Okay, so the first question is, what is my favourite mum hack? Now I think for me there are so many different things that I do in day-to-day life which could be classed as hacks, but I'm sure so many of you guys already use them. However, I would say my ultimate mum hack would be to keep Clayton and now Parker occupied mess-free, which for me and my home and all things like that, you know, is massive to me, guys. So what I basically do is, I think they're by Crayola, however I will leave the link down below and I'll see if I can find like a screenshot to insert on the screen for you. But basically they are these drawing books, colouring pads as such, that are made, and basically they have loads of pictures. They come in like trolls and cars, Peppa Pig, like all the characters, and basically they come with loads of different coloured pens. However, the pens are completely invisible and only work on the paper. So that means if we are on the go on the car, if we're going on flights and aeroplanes, and if we're even in the home and Clayton says that I want to do some drawing, I get these out. He thinks he's colouring with permanent markers and pens, which obviously to kids this is always so much more fun. However, it is completely mess free and he can't do any damage to my walls, my furniture, my carpets, my sofa. So it doesn't matter where I am, and they come in all the different colours. So he gets to colour in his favourite characters wherever we might be, completely mess free. Okay, so number 2 on the list is my most embarrassing mum moment. And I remember this without fail. Now I guess this is just part of the parcel of being a mum and having children who are learning and growing up and things like that. But I always remember I was in the doctor's surgery with Clayton and I was pregnant with Parker, and we were queuing up and the queue was so long. Anyhow, in front of me was a lady who looked quite masculine and had a very short haircut. And basically Clayton would not stop asking me. I think at the time he was like 18 months or something. No, he must have been about 2.5 actually, so I'm completely got that wrong. He must have been around 2.5, and Clayton kept asking me, "Mummy, what's that man doing? What's that man?" And he just kept talking and he just kept saying man, 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 man over again, and it was quite clearly a woman. And I just felt so embarrassed. Like I had to keep apologising on behalf of what he was saying. I was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, he calls everyone a man, I really apologise." Which, oh, you know when you're like at the time he didn't kind of get the whole man and lady situation, although she did look quite masculine. So for me it was kind of like, oh my gosh, and I was dying of embarrassment. And you know when you're kind of like, other than apologising, there's nothing I can do because he is a child, children learn things, children come out with things like that. But you know when you're like, Clayton, please zip it, shush, right now. Like, I was dying inside. So the next question is, what part of the day do you love the most? Now there's 2 parts of the day that I love the most. The first part that I love the most is when the boys wake up in a good mood and they want to come into our bed and we have cuddles if we're having a really lazy Sunday or something like that. However, a lot of the time Parker wakes up crying, which isn't so much fun. I remember Clayton always used to wake up singing nursery rhymes and all things like that, Parker just wakes up screaming. However, I think the next favourite part of my day is just before dinner time. I always love that time. We're just getting ready, and this can obviously be just before bedtime as well, and we're kind of winding down for the day, and we generally put on music. We put on The Greatest Showman or Trolls or something like that, and we all have a dance around the kitchen, and then we start winding down for bed. And like, I love now doing like book time and reading with Clayton, and he just comes out with so many funny things now as well. So I guess they're probably my two favourite times of the day. Now the next question is, what part of the day do you like the least? And again, I think I've got two parts of the day that I like the least. The first part is the morning school run or nursery drop off, because we're not quite at school age yet, but we do this every morning, and oh my gosh, it drives me bonkers. Now I have seen quite a few other mums say this, but it's the constant with Clayton. Clayton, put your socks on. Clayton, put your pants on. Clayton, put your top on. Clayton, go and put your shoes. Clayton, oh my gosh, he just doesn't listen. I say it over and over and over again. And I know I'm not the only mum out there that probably experiences that as well. And the second part of the day that I really dislike is dinner time generally, and meal times. Now Parker has become so fussy with his food, and I can give him a dinner that he's had before, and he'll decide on this day that he doesn't like it, and he wants to chuck it everywhere and make a mess with it, and he refuses to have it, and he'll end up going to bed with no dinner, and it's just a bit of a battle at the moment with him. So yeah, I'm not a big fan of dinner time with him, and I used to love it because with Clayton it was so easy, but yeah, not so much with Parker. So the next thing is the worst thing that somebody said to you when you was pregnant, and to be honest, I don't really think there was something bad that anyone said to me. I'm quite lucky that no one's really judged me too much as a parent socially or online, and for my two pregnancies I wasn't that active on here anyways, because even though I started on here about 5 years ago now, I was never that big at the time. I didn't have hardly any followers, like probably like 5 so, and then I stopped. So there's nothing that really anyone said to me, and nor have they said it to me in person. Everyone's generally been quite supportive and things like that, and likewise I'm quite thick-skinned as well, and anything anyone said, like I had a lot of people commenting on how big I was and stuff like that, but I knew I was big. Like, I'm quite petite as a frame as a whole, and my bumps were humongous, so I know that, and I don't really take offense to people telling me that I was big or anything like that. So yeah, I don't really have anything for that question. So the next question is a baby name that you didn't agree on, and I remember straight away for Parker, and I think I've actually used this in a baby names video that I might consider using in the future. But for Parker, there were a couple of names that I loved and Adam actually hated, and the one that springs to mind the most is Bodhi. I am obsessed with the name Bodhi. I've loved it for ages. I don't know why, I just love it. It just feels very me and the boys, and I think Bodhi Smith sounds really lovely. But Adam absolutely hated it, and all he kept saying was like, oh, he'll be called Bogey Bodhi or Bodhi Bogey, and I was like, what? But I guess you do have to think about those sort of things from kids, but I don't really think it's something that would put me off the name. But Adam point blank refused and hated that name. I also love the name Chase, and Adam was like, no, Paw Patrol. I love the name Poppy for a girl, but we kind of had to rule that out because of Trolls, and that was all Clayton would think about. So yeah, there are a few names that I absolutely loved, but Adam just didn't agree on. So number 7 is, do you co-sleep? Now I know this can be quite a controversial topic, however we kind of have done a little bit of both, but not really. So we have never strictly co-sleeped. We've had the co-sleeper by the side of the bed for both of the boys. We had the Chico next to me when it was just newly launched, and we kept that for Parker as well, and that was an absolute godsend. I always remember that Clayton used to come into our bed quite a lot as well, so because he was my firstborn, I kind of had him on me quite a bit. I used to remember him going to sleep with me quite often, but I am the type of mum that is petrified that I will roll over and squash them in the night and they will stop breathing and all things like that. Like, for me, it's more of a safety aspect. However, when Clayton got a lot bigger, he did come into our bed a lot more often, and he would kind of sleep in with us, but that wasn't, he would always go down in his own bed. From 5 months or 6 months with Parker, 5 months with Clayton, both the boys have been in their own beds, and that's where they go to sleep. And they can come in with us if like they're ill or they're poorly or they want to cuddle in the middle of the night. I'm more than happy to let them come into our bed, but it's not something that we kind of have, because at the end of the day, me and Adam, it's our bed. We need our time together in our bed. We need to be able to sleep. Clayton's a kicker as well, and he starfishes out in the bed. So yeah, we do sort of co-sleep, but not really. Okay, so the next question is something you bought but never used. And for me, hands down, this is a Moses basket. I found the Moses basket utterly useless just with my boys. So I had a really lovely, it kind of went up at the sides, it was white, it had like all really nice bobbled interior. It was stunning, and I paid a lot of money for it for Clayton. And I remember I bought this Moses basket and it was perfect. It was going to be in my living room and I could move it around to upstairs and all things like that. And Clayton hated it from day one. He refused to sleep in it. He hardly slept in it, and it was just awful. And I literally remember a couple of days after he was born, I went out and bought the Chico next to me and he was so much better. I don't know if that's because I have quite big babies, because they both like to be like mollycoddled and all uptight when they was little, but I just think they liked the openness and the airiness of the space. And then likewise, I kept the Moses basket for Parker because it was so stunning and it was brand new. I kept it, I tried it with him and he hated it as well, and he didn't use it either. And in the end, I just sold it because although I would love a third baby, I don't know when that's going to happen. We were in the process of moving. I can always go and buy another one, but I will probably just stick to the co-sleeper because that is what works for my children. And a Moses basket was such a waste of money. Okay, so for number 9, it's 3 hospital must-haves. Now the first 2 are really, really easy that spring to mind. So the first one is if you are having a summer baby, or even if you're in the winter, bring a portable fan. Now I linked this in my Amazon favourites video because it's a firm favourite and I still use it now. But there was this fan that you can charge via a USB plug. It had amazing power on it. It was so strong and it kept me so cool in the summer when I was in labour and throughout the summer, in fact. So if I could recommend anything, number 1 would be that. There was also cooling spray as well. I was obsessed with this cooling spray. I think it was by, I don't know. I will see if I can find it and I'll link it below as well. I want to say like something beginning with A, but I could be completely wrong. And I buy it all the time now as well because it's amazing for the summer and it keeps me really cool again. And you just spray it and it's like a mist over your face. So when you're in labour, it's really cooling and refreshing. And I use that instead of a flannel. And actually, number 3, I 100% know. And that would be a jug or an empty bottle of water. Now, the reason why I say this, and I brought a jug with me, is basically because when you have given birth naturally, things can be a little bit sore. And so to go a toilet and to kind of wash and wipe down there, sorry to be crude and TMI, can be really sore and painful. So I always brought a jug with me and I would fill it up with water, and instead of having to wipe and things get like infected and whatever else, I just used to kind of pour the water at the end. I think you kind of know what I'm getting at here. I know there are other things that probably are a must-have, but big pants and things like that are kind of all standard on everyone's checklist, but I feel like these 3 things really helped me after labour. So number 10, I'm going to use my phone for this one because it's quite a long one, is are you a routine mum or a go with the flow mum, and what does bedtime look like? Okay, so you guys know me, I am very much routined. I like routines, but then I'm also quite laid back in other aspects as well. So generally we have a general routine. So I like to do dinner around 4:30, have them eating it for like 4:30, 5-ish. Then generally I like to come upstairs, we'll have a bath, we'll kind of all have a little play and wind down. Parker then generally has a bottle and goes to bed, and we've actually moved his bedtime forward a little bit. So dependent on what day it is, he will generally go to bed between 6 and 7, dependent on how tired he is and how our routine goes and if the boys are playing and stuff like that. Then Clayton now, we used to kind of do it so Clayton used to go straight to bed after having a bath. However, Clayton's routine is a little bit more flexible now, and it depends again on the day, if daddy's home a little bit earlier and things like that. But generally what will happen is if daddy's home and we want a bit of playtime, then Clayton will come back downstairs with us and have a bit of grown-up time without Parker whilst Parker's in bed. And this is just a nice chance for me and Clayton and Adam and Clayton to get some one-on-one time with him. So then he may come downstairs, he may build some Lego with us, he may play a game that he's not necessarily allowed out because it's got lots of smaller bits with Parker around, and he might do that, or he might read his book with us or something like that because he gets the If Chip and Kipper books now from school, the ones without any pictures, he gets that from nursery. So he might read a book with us, and then generally what happens is once we've done that and we've wound down for the evening, Clayton will generally go to bed between 7 and half 7. Sometimes it can be a little bit later, and then we'll come up to bed, we will read a book together, and he'll kind of read some of it and I'll read some, and that'll be like a storybook, and then he will go to bed as well. But if our routines are completely thrown out the window and for whatever reason we're a little bit later or stuff like that, it's not the be all and end all. Like, I'm not a very strict person like that. And again, if we're out seeing family and we're down in London and things like that, the routine generally goes out the window, and it just happens. And I'm not, the boys are just in a really good routine. They know when bedtime is, and it just works for us. But then again, obviously we have things like morning, and again there's a general routine of like waking up, doing breakfast, bottles and all things like that, and it just kind of depends on the day. So the next question is, what type of labour did you have and what pain relief did you choose? So I've had 2 labours, both of those were natural deliveries. However, there were differences between them both. So with Clayton, I went into labour naturally, and I went ahead and had a labour. It was a very long labour. I remember having contractions about 7:30 in the morning the day before he was born, and I didn't give birth until 11:30 in the morning the day after. So it was like kind of a really long process. However, from that 7:30 in the morning until I went into hospital around 11:30 in the evening, I wasn't even 4 centimetres, and they were quite mild, but from about 6:30 that evening, I remember them building and getting quite strong. And then they went in, and when I went in, they gave me a sweep. They said I was 3 centimetres, and that sweep moved things along really, really quickly. I got to 4 centimetres, but then I was in established labour for about 12 hours. It was really slow. It was quite dramatic. Clayton got stuck in my, like, I don't know, what do you call it? I can't even think. Clayton basically got stuck. He was really hard. His shoulders got stuck. He potentially had like shoulder dystocia, and it was just a really, really hard labour. And I remember like all the things going off, but they broke my waters and all things like that, because it was moving so slowly. However, I only had gas and air for that, and I suffered with really bad SPD, and I remember it being quite painful, but I am terrified of needles, absolutely terrified. And I remember it was quite a stressful labour, and I didn't enjoy it at all, and I was in so much shock afterwards. It wasn't pleasant at all. However, with Parker, I went in for reduced movements. I'd had them both with Parker and Clayton. And when I went in for my 3rd bout of reduced movements with Parker, apparently because I was 38 weeks, they could induce me. So they actually started the induction process, and I was already having mild contractions anyways. They started that, and I was induced for, God, I went into the hospital on the evening, 2 evenings before he was born. They started the process the following morning. I was in all day that day. Contractions came thick and fast, but I just wasn't progressing at all, and it was horrible. I remember being in so much pain on the ward, and they gave me the pessary for that. I went all day and just didn't have anything, and then that evening they gave me pethidine, and I remember they gave it to me because they said that I needed to sleep, but I couldn't because of the contractions. So I had pethidine, which made me extremely sick. I was sick through both pregnancies. And then I remember waking up the following morning. I'd had about 7-8 hours sleep. I remember waking up the following morning, and when I woke up, I went to the toilet, I'd lost my plug, and I remember I was ready to go. And again, I just had gas and air for that one. However, I do remember when I went into labour, thinking that it was going to be another like 12-hour stint like it was with Clayton, and thinking I just can't do it. And I did ask for an epidural when I was about an hour or so in, but there was no time for that at all. Like, I was ready to go. I'd signed all the paperwork, and I was like, no, I feel like I need to push. And she was like, yep, you're 10 centimetres, off you go. So yeah, there was no time for an epidural. So number 12 is, have you ever been mum shamed? And again, I can say no, I've never been mum shamed. I did have a comment a little while ago saying about Clayton not wearing a seatbelt in the car, but he does wear them, but he just tends to pull it down. Where he's quite big for his age and he's quite young, he can't have any harness car seats, which is really, really annoying, and he has to be in the seatbelt one. And when I'd done a story, I think whenever it may have been, Clayton's seatbelt was slightly down and someone questioned me on it, and we were literally just pulling up to where we were meant to be, and Clayton must have moved it down to like look around. He always has a seatbelt on. My car detects if they don't, and I get an alert. It buzzes, which is really annoying. But yeah, that's kind of the only thing, but I've never directly been mum shamed. I'm really, really lucky that no one really gives me too much grief, I guess, so thank you. But yeah, I've not really had any mum shaming. So number 13 is the biggest challenges you face since becoming a mum. So I guess the biggest challenges I've faced, or the biggest challenge for me, is probably like finding myself again. I feel like I became lost when I became a mum. I feel like I just turned into a robot that kind of functioned purely for my children and not for me. And I feel like I made it my commitment this year, at the beginning of this year, in one of my goals for the year, I said that I wanted to get some me time back again. And that meant getting my nails done again, my eyelashes done again, getting my hair done again, working on my health, my diet and all things like that. And I've actively gone for it this year, and I'm working full force. Like, I've been doing all of those things, and that was in kind of my goals video, which I will link below if you're interested in watching it. But yeah, I feel like that was kind of one of the things. I feel like I functioned for Clayton and I did everything in him, and I feel like I turned into the mum that just wears baggy jeans and jumpers and trainers. And I've never been one of those mums that doesn't directly bother too much. Like, I always go out with makeup on, but I'll just chuck my hair up, and I don't know, I just feel like I lost myself for a little bit. So that would kind of be my biggest struggle, I guess. And also, I also found the transition from 1 to 2 children really hard, and I feel like I struggle with balancing that and getting the right balance between seeing both the boys, spending time with them and things like that. But I mean, that's just motherhood for you, right? Okay, so number 14 is the best bit of advice you've ever been given, the biggest piece of advice you'd give to a new mum. I mean, this is easy for me. The best bit of advice that I was ever given is you know your baby more than anyone, and to follow your mother's instinct. And for me, that is the best bit of advice that I could give to you guys as well. If you're a new mum to be, or you're struggling or anything like that, and you're doubting yourself, you know your baby better than anyone. I remember the midwives coming over and telling me that I shouldn't let my baby sleep and I should be waking him regularly for bottles and things like that, because they follow like a strict regimented structure and regime of what they're given and what the guidelines are and what they're recommended. But for me, I never wake a sleeping baby for a bottle or anything like that. I literally just wait for them to wake up, because they might not be hungry, they might not want that bottle. They will naturally tell you. And likewise, I remember with Clayton, we were both having allergic reactions to different things. Mine went down and his still kept on flaring up. And I remember I phoned the doctor's surgery and they was like, there's nothing you can do. And I'd taken him in and they was like, just give him Piriton. And he was 2 at this point in time. And they were saying, just give him Piriton. There's nothing else you can do. It should go down. It will go down. And I remember I kind of left it. And then I remember I left it overnight and it had just gotten worse. And his reactions had gone from red to like bluey purple bruising. And it was horrific. And I phoned the doctors again and they was like, no, just keep going. And it was at that point that I said, no, I'm taking him to the hospital. And it was lucky that I did, because they had to give him a steroid, like not injection, but like a steroid medicine to get it into his system, because that was the only way to clear it. And it turned out he had a blood clotting problem, but the doctors were palming it off as an allergic reaction. And yeah, I just remember it being quite bad. So like I said, go with your gut instinct. You know your baby better than anyone. And the last question is, who's your mum crush and who do you tag? So I think for me, my mum crushes at the moment are a combination of Vogue Williams, because obviously I was watching her on Vogue and Spencer, and also Billy Fairs. I'm obsessed with her. She looks bloody amazing. She's got such a good body. She's had 2 children. She just seems to juggle it all really, really well. And I just love anyone that just seems to be like a working mum, like Kristen Cavallari, all those types of women that you see in the media that seem to be smashing their goals, working hard, business women that have children. They're my idols. So anyone like that, they don't even necessarily have to be famous, but just people that are owning it and are working super hard as a mum. mum, and I'm going to tag 3 people in this one. So because I feel like everyone else has been tagged, but I'm going to tag Rebecca Meldrum because she is just stunning and she is a mum of 3 children. I'm also going to tag the lovely Amanda from This Crazy Life Vlogs, and I'm also going to tag Laura Byrne from Belle's Boutique. So I'm tagging you 3 to do this tag if you want to join in, and also I tag all of you guys if you do YouTube, or if you don't, or if you really want to do this tag, then join in, tag me in it when you do it. And if you're not on YouTube, then obviously you can leave all your answers in the comments below. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you are new to my channel, then I would love for you to subscribe. I cover everything from cleaning, lifestyle, self-care, finances, budgeting. What else do I do? Parenthood, travel. I do so much over here. So if you'd like that kind of thing, I would love for you to click the red button somewhere down here. Click the bell notification button so you can always be notified when I've got new videos coming live. And I will see you all again in another video very shortly. Bye guys.